Good morning, this is Dr. Rajesh Yadav from Department of Biochemistry. Today we will discuss about the digestion in the stomach. So we have already discussed about the digestive system in the previous lecture, mechanism of the digestion, salivary glands in the buccal cavity, type of the salivary glands, saliva composition, active and passive transport of saliva in the salivary gland, and papilla taste buds. So now we will discuss hormonal regulation of the hydrochloric acid, neuronal regulation of the hydrochloric acid, some discussion about the esophagus sphincter, structure of the stomach, hunger pains, glands in the stomach, type of the gland in the stomach, type of the cell in the glands. So this is the gastrointestinal tract, which is shown the mouth. The food will come through the mouth to the esophagus, and through the esophagus it reaches to the stomach, and through the stomach it will digest. Protein digestion occur in the stomach, and then it will enter into the small intestine, and through the small intestine it goes into the large intestine. So finally the undigested material will come out from the anus. And these are the liver and pancreas, that is accessory organs which help in the digestion. Okay, so the regulation of the hydrochloric acid. So endocrinal regulation. That means the hormone which is responsible for the regulation of the hydrochloric acid, it is called endocrinal regulation. So when we are taking the food, so the protein when coming to the stomach, it will stimulate the pyloric gland which release gastrin hormone, and this gastrin hormone stimulate ECL cells, that is the enterochromaffin like cells, and these cells release the histamine, and finally histamine stimulate oxyntic cell which secrete the hydrochloric acid. So I can also show here the ray diagram of the same mechanism of the endocrinal and neuronal regulation. So first one is the endocrinal regulation, which we have already discussed this, and second is the regulation neuronal regulation. So in this neuronal regulation, vagus neurons, that is the 10th cranial nerve, and it secretes acetylcholine neurotransmitter, which is excitatory neurotransmitter, and it will stimulate the oxyntic cells, and these oxyntic cells release the hydrochloric acid, and in this way we can regulate the hormonal and endocrinal regulation of HCl. So in this figure I have shown here about the parietal cell or oxyntic cell which secrete hydrochloric acid, and the energy is required, so large number of mitochondria is present in the parietal cells, and here is the canaliculi. So whatever the oxyntic cells secrete hydrochloric acid, it come into the canaliculi, and these are the mucous cells. So the pH of the gastric acid is 1.5 to 3.5 because acid is very highly acidic in nature, and in the human stomach lumen, the acidity being maintained by the proton pump or hydrogen potassium ATPase. The parietal cell release bicarbonate into the bloodstream in the process, which cause the temporary rise in the pH in the blood. So it is also known as alkaline type. A typical adult human stomach secretes 1.5 liter of the gastric acid daily, and in infants and toddlers, the gastric acid also contains renin enzyme which cause the protein digestion in infants. And this renin enzyme is not present in the adult, so it is a specific property of the renin enzyme. So here I would like to show you a small clip of the digestion in the gastrointestinal tract. So this is the GIT system. So we'll discuss how digestive system will work. So that is rectum, lower portion, then it is large intestine, small intestine, pancreas, stomach, and this is the accessory organ, liver, and this tract is esophagus, and different type of the salivary gland which is present here. So when we take the food, it is first masticated in the mouth, so it will break down into the small parts, and saliva will mixed into the food, So the bolus-like structure form. So in the saliva, amylase, gastric amylase enzyme is present, which cause the partial digestion of the carbohydrate. So this amylase enzyme is causing the digestion of the carbohydrate and breakdown into the glucose and maltose. And after the partial digestion, the food enter into the esophagus. So in the esophagus, there is no digestion, only the lubricant mucus is present, and the skin, this is the layer, different layer is present in the esophagus and also stomach. So these are circular muscles which propels the food in the forward direction. So this is the different layer like stratum. This is lamina muscularis, lamina propria. In this way, different type of the layer which are present and which propels the food in the forward direction. And in the stomach also the peristaltic movement occurs because two muscles, these produce a wave. As a result, food goes in the forward direction. So this is showing here how the food is going in the forward direction as the peristaltic movement. And now this is the different region of the stomach: fundus, cardia and body. And now next is the duodenum here. So we can discuss the different muscles which are present in the stomach: circular muscles or longitudinal muscles, and it provides the peristaltic movements. And the ruggy-like structure is also present, which provide the surface area and also produce the movement. So in this figure, it is showing that hydrochloric acid which is secreted from the oxyntic cells, and it will provide the acidity. As a result, protein will digest in the acidic medium, and apart from this hydrochloric acid kill the bacteria which remain in the food and which did not kill by the lysozyme enzyme in the mouth. So here in the animation I am showing the bolus which is coming from the esophagus to enter into the stomach. So this bolus is coming and it will come into the stomach, and in the stomach already hydrochloric acid is present. So through the hydrochloric acid the bacteria will kill and the protein will digest. So the pepsin enzyme and intrinsic factor lipase, this enzyme will help for the digestion of the protein. So pepsin enzyme is responsible for the digestion of the protein in the stomach. So mainly digestion occurs of protein in stomach. So it is showing this microbacteria that will remain in the food, that will killed by the hydrochloric acid secreted by the oxyntic cells. So these molecules bind and destroy this all type of the bacteria. So this is pepsinogen enzyme which is released by the parietal cell, and it is in inactive form. When it will bind with the hydrochloric acid, then it will activate and cause the digestion of the protein. So as a result, protein will break down into the smaller part like peptides, amino acids, and finally amino acid will absorb in the blood. And another one is a vitamin B12. So in the vitamin B12, absorption occurs with the help of intrinsic factor. So intrinsic factor is released in the stomach, and these intrinsic factors is binding with the vitamin B12 and help for the absorption in the small intestine. So because in the absence of intrinsic factor, the absorption of vitamin B12 not happen. So this is the triglyceride molecule. So the digestion occurs of the fat. So triglyceride, when gastric lipase enzyme come, it will break down the triglyceride into the diglyceride and monoglyceride. As a result, small molecule of fatty acid will release that will absorb in the blood. So basically absorption occurs in the small intestine. So here just I'm showing the breakdown of the fat molecules. So it is showing that some peristaltic movement occur because some muscles, circular muscles or longitudinal muscles are present in the stomach that will cause the propulsion. So as a result, food enter through the stomach into the small intestine, and especially on the duodenum region of the small intestine, because duodenum is the initial portion of the small intestine. So through the pyloric sphincter, the food will enter into the small intestine in the form of chyme. So the food enter into the small intestine through the structure that is called ampulla of Vater, and sphincter of Oddi is a covering. So it is an animation showing that food is coming into the small intestine, and pancreatic juice is also secreted in the small intestine, especially in the duodenum. So the main function of the pancreatic juice is secrete the bicarbonates ion, like hydrogen bicarbonates ion or sodium bicarbonates ion. So it will neutralize the acid which is coming from the along with the food through the stomach. So the remaining portion of the hydrochloric acid of the food is neutralized by the bicarbonate ion of the pancreatic juice. So pancreatic juice have different type of the enzyme, protein digestive enzyme like trypsinogen. So when trypsinogen is bind with the hydrochloric acid, so hydrochloric acid, uh, so pepsinogen enzyme activate into the pepsin in the presence of hydrochloric acid. Pepsin will digest the protein. And apart from the protein digestive enzyme, some fatty acid and carbohydrate that will also digest in the small intestine. So that is why it is called complete digestion of the food into the small intestine. So same things also showing here. The fatty acid molecule triglyceride, it is breakdown by the gastric lipase enzyme, and free fatty acid will be released. So it is showing here two fatty acid molecule is released. And in the small intestine, carbohydrate digestion is also occurs. So as a result, carbohydrate will break down into small maltose and glucose molecules. Now this is the structure of the pancreas in the orange color, and this is liver showing the brown color. It is releasing the bile juice which is coming into the gallbladder, and through the gallbladder then it come into the small intestine. So bile juice come, and it is responsible for the fat digestion, especially for the emulsification of the fat occurs in the small intestine, especially in the jejunum, duodenum and ileum. So ileum is the last part of the small intestine, and basically absorption occurs in the small intestine, and then food will enter into the large intestine. So this is just showing the structure of the small intestine, duodenum and jejunum. The folding occurs because absorption occurs with the help of villi. So this is the villi is showing here. So this villi increase the surface area as it is a large number of nutrient vitamin that will absorb through the villi, and through this villi this nutrient will goes into the blood, and through the blood it circulate all over the body where it is required. So this is the structure of our one villus, which is showing the blood vessel, artery and veins which are in, and lymph vessel which is present inside the one villus, and these nutrient showing in the green color it is absorbing in the blood vessel. So these are showing the RBC, nutrient will come into the blood, and sugars after the digestion come into the bloods, and it circulate all over the body, and in the cell glucose will enter into the cell by the different receptor, and iron absorption, especially by the transferrin protein, it will bind with the iron and circulate into the bloods and release in the cells. And this is the chylomicron. It is just modification of the fat So like triglyceride, so all these are absorbed through the villi. So in this way we have seen the complete digestion and absorption in the small intestine, and then will food enter into the large intestine. Large intestine has three parts: cecum, colon, and rectum. And in the cecum, large number of symbiotic bacteria are present, which cause the digestion of the cellulose. So it is also showing the villi in the large intestine. It is all over the large intestine. There is no digestion occurs in the large intestine. So it is showing the absorption of the calcium in the largest intestine. Apart from the calcium, another molecule like zinc, the zinc absorption in the long intestine. And this is the vitamin B12. So in this way, calcium, zinc, vitamin B12, and bile acids, remaining bile acids, it will absorb in the large intestine. In the animation, it is showing the peristaltic movement. And this large intestine segmentation occurs. This is the segmentation. This will also help to movement of the food particle in the forward direction. As a result, food will come toward the anus. So in this animation, it is showing the part of large intestine, which has three parts. This is the Wuhan's bulb. Through the Wuhan's bulb, food come into the large intestine through the small intestine. And this is bacteria showing in the small intestine. 20 power 12 bacteria is present, symbiotic bacteria, which cause the plant digestion, which is coming through the leaves or by the vegetables. So it is very important for our health because it is also called good bacteria, because it kills the harm bacteria and help for the digestion of the food. So there's three parts. One is ascending colon, this is the transfer colon, and last one is the descending colon. So food come through the ascending colon to the transfer, then in the descending colon, and then come at the anus. So through the anus, the food come out in the form of feces. In the rectum, especially water absorption occur. The hosta are present in this region that will responsible for the absorption of the water. In this way, you can see all the digestion process in the gastrointestinal tract. I have just shown about the structure of the esophageal sphincter, which is present at the junction of the esophagus and stomach. So that will help to stop the gastric acid from stomach to the esophagus or through the mouth. So we have already discussed about this peristaltic movement. Now come to the hunger contraction. So there is a rhythmical peristaltic contraction occurs in the stomach that will create the hunger pains. So hunger pains usually do not begin until 12 to 24 hours after the last ingestion of the food. In the starvation, they reach their greatest intensity in 3 to 4 days. So next one, the glands in the stomach. There are two types of the gland, oxyntic gland and pyloric gland. Oxyntic glands contain three types of the cells, chief cell or peptic cells, which release the pepsinogen enzyme. Second is the oxyntic cell. It is also called parietal cells. It will secrete the hydrochloric acid and intrinsic factor. And third one is mucous neck cell, which will secrete the mucin. Another gland, that is pyloric gland, it covers only 20% part of the stomach, while oxyntic gland covers the 80% of the stomach. So the pyloric gland releases only mucus and one hormone, that is the gastrin hormone, that will responsible for the stimulation of the histamine, and histamine will release the hydrochloric acid. So this is the structure of canaliculi in the parietal cell, and the acid is come into the canaliculi and come out through the canaliculi. Thank you.